Hey there and welcome to the 85th and final episode of Sims Sunday. My name is Pete and today we are finally going to reach that goal of full completion. And by full completion I of course mean completion in terms of gameplay. There was a comment last time saying that we hadn't used every single wallpaper or floor tile yet, and while that is of course technically true, I also have no real plans to change anything about that, simply because I think that having about 150 wall coverings won't really add anything to the series. Instead, today we're going to focus on three major things. Number one, owning all properties in Sunset Valley. Now, I don't really know how many properties we can actually still buy, but we can buy at least one more for the cost of 300,000 Simoleons. So we will work our finances up to that, purchase it and see if anything else becomes available. If not, then I would consider that goal to be completed at that point. The second thing concerns our home lot, where we are going to build a bit. I think now that Pauline is an Emperor of Evil, she deserves a room to rule in, and combined with a few other redecorations, we are going to build her that. Last but not least, we also have the sad task of adding another ghost ahead of us, as our family crypt is still missing a purple Starvation Ghost. So I would say our tasks are laid out for us, and let's actually begin with some building. First of all, we're going to clean up that part of the house where we raised our children. Most of them are already out of the house, so they don't really need this area anymore, and at the same time the layout suits us perfectly to kind of build Pauline's throne room. We will of course need a room for our ghost baby Powell, but we'll get to that in a moment. With everything cleaned up, we can now put a small pedestal down to give Pauline a slightly elevated position. Having a throne as well as red carpet is of course a must, and we are going to put down some lights as well to create the right atmosphere. I also quickly went back to live mode and changed the lights to flame color, as I think that creates a more medieval, sinister feeling. Some columns in the back, and then we're also going to present both the gems and the medals here, as those are of course some of the family's most prized possessions. Up next, we're also going to hang up all 10 skill certificates here, and this actually took me a while because I wanted to hang up the certificates from those Sims who actually completed the skills. So in the end we have Chastity's guitar skill certificate, Paul's painting, writing and charisma certificates, Yisha's logic certificate, Pete's athletic and handiness skill certificates, and last but not least also Patrick's certificates for the cooking, fishing and gardening skills. I have also quickly rearranged things once again and put in all the beetles and butterflies, as well as another pair of columns near the entrance. And with that I would say our small trophy throne room is complete for the moment, and I think it serves perfectly to showcase all the things we have completed in this playthrough. Now we can take care of a few minor things, for example in the TV area and in Pauline's room, and then we can put Powell's crypt down here in our living room. It will only be a few days until he ages up to child and then he can sleep in a real bed, and in the meantime we will have him sleep here and hope he doesn't bother anyone. Once he is aged up to child, then he can inherit one of the 3 bedrooms, because like I said we have to turn one more family member into a ghost, so one of those rooms will be free soon. In the meantime, his potty chair can go right next to the door here, that way it is as close as possible to the trash can. And with that I would say we are prepared for the next few days, so let's jump right back into the gameplay with Powell learning how to use the potty chair. Up next, Patrick makes us a bit of money selling fruits, vegetables and the money tree harvests, and so we're now back up to over 100,000 Simoleons. In the evening then, Pauline heads off to work again, and while she's busy in the criminal warehouse, the rest of the household is already fast asleep. The next day then goes by pretty uneventful, that is until Pete teaches Powell how to talk. Only one more toddler skill remains now, and let's get right on that. In the meantime, Patrick's harvests earn us another 20,000 Simoleons. And then late in the evening, Powell also learns how to walk, and with that he now has all 3 toddler skills completed. We skip ahead one day, and on Sunday everything is about gardening. The 2 additional rows of garlic that we planted in the last episode are now ready for harvest, and hopefully by the end of the day those will boost our finances quite a bit. And around midnight then Patrick finally makes it over to the grocery store, and we earn 27,000 simoleons from fruits and vegetables and another additional 10,000 from the money tree harvests. With that we're now up to almost 200,000, and tomorrow also begins a new week in Sunset Valley, and that means we can collect our investment money. And with not much else happening on Sunday, let's actually jump right ahead to that. The new week is here, and that means it's time to collect. And we just made almost 220,000 simoleons, and that should be more than enough money to buy that last remaining property in Sunset Valley. And here we are, Lone Wolf Manor for over 300,000 simoleons, the last remaining free property in town. Let's buy that, and since nothing else is available, I would say we now also have this part of the game completed. And that now only leaves one more thing. Over the course of 84 episodes, we still haven't had anyone die of starvation so far. Today, that is sadly going to change. And the person I have in mind is, unsurprisingly and also somewhat ironically considering his career as a cook, Patrick. Patrick is as usual busy in the garden right now, and his hunger bar is already starting to increase. Now it will take a while until he actually starves, so in the meantime he will very likely be able to make us a bit more money, but eventually, probably tomorrow, he will no longer be with us. Before that happens though, Pauline starts another work shift in the evening, and Patrick himself can, in a once again somewhat ironic twist of fate, feed Powell. At the same time, Pauline finishes her work shift, and shortly after, Patrick heads off to bed. The next morning then begins with another round of harvesting for Patrick, but we can already see his hunger need is starting to bother him. In the early afternoon then, Patrick stops harvesting because he's simply getting too hungry. He is, however, still able to sell fruits and vegetables, and since there is really nothing else we can do with him right now, let's have him do that. He is also still able to take care of Powell, and paying the bills is also still possible with him. In the evening then, Pauline is once again heading off to work, while Patrick simply goes to sleep. It will apparently take a while longer until we finally have that last remaining ghost. At around midnight, Pete also goes to sleep, and no, he was not able to harvest the entire garden on his own today. The next morning then, things are getting even more cruel. Close to starvation, Patrick now has to prepare angel food cake in the kitchen, because the reserves in our fridge have run out. He will of course not be allowed to eat a bite of that himself. This is prepared exclusively for the rest of the household. Now, I also seem to have completely miscalculated how long it actually takes a sim to starve in this game, because Patrick obtained the negative very hungry moodlet early Tuesday morning, and it is now late Wednesday afternoon and he still has 17 hours left on that moodlet. So allow me to do something a bit more radical here. Let's jump ahead roughly 24 hours. It is now late Thursday afternoon and we have a birthday to celebrate. Today, Powell will age up from toddler to child, and even though there will be cake, we will make absolutely sure that Patrick won't grab a slice. By the way, his very hungry moodlet's still lasting for another 10 hours, and that slow progression very likely a result of the hardly hungry lifetime reward. Be that as it may, Powell ages up to child, and because we taught him all the essential toddler skills, we can now pick a trait for him. And since he is a ghost, I decided to go with a mean-spirited, because Powell will definitely not be a run-of-the-mill friendly helper. That means we can now also get rid of crib and potty chair, and since nothing else is happening, let's jump ahead one more day. Powell, by the way, sleeping in his father's bed for the time being. That is until he can inherit Patrick's room. The next morning then, Powell on the way to his first day at school, and we might as well put in some effort here, so let's have him work hard. At 3 PM then the day at school comes to an end, and Powell has already worked his way up to B grades, so if we keep that up, he should be on honor roll sooner rather than later. And at home, something I have been doing for the last few days actually, feeding live fruits to Pauline to extend her lifespan and to also keep her an adult. I don't want a household full of elders and a ghost child just yet, so she will remain an adult for the remainder of the series. In the evening then, she once again leaves for work while Patrick and Powell chat on the sofa and watch TV together, and we still have 4 hours left on Patrick's very hungry moodlet. Late at night then, Pauline has returned from a work shift and the rest of the household is asleep, and Patrick still has 2 hours left on the moodlet. And it took another additional 12 hours for that to change. At around 3 PM in the next afternoon, the very hungry moodlet finally switches to starving, and that one will now last an additional 24 hours, which may or may not stretch over the course of the next few days. 8 hours later, but only 2 hours are removed from the moodlet, and at this rate we are going to sit here for the next 4 days. Now, please forgive me for kind of influencing things a bit here, but I decided to remove the Hardly Hungry lifetime reward. I have now realized that this reward might be the worst thing to have if you actually want your sim to starve, and like I said, at this rate we would have another 3 or 4 days ahead of us. So the next morning Patrick wakes up and the moodlet shows a much more reasonable 15 hours now. And almost exactly 15 hours later, it is sadly but also finally time. Patrick cannot stay hungry any longer, and he expires to become a purple ghost surrounded by his family. After Patrick's demise, we can now move Pete's portrait in the crypt. After all, he is no longer among the dead, and instead we're going to put up Patrick's, and below that we're placing his urn. And with that, we say goodbye to Patrick complete. Over the course of this playthrough, Patrick was responsible for fulfilling 6 lifetime wishes, as well as 2 full-time and 2 part-time careers. With cooking, fishing and gardening, Patrick also completed 3 skills, and on top of that, he was the family's primary moneymaker for the majority of his life. Patrick complete, despite your slow demise, which was actually sometimes comical to watch, you will definitely be missed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end. Over the course of this playthrough, in 85 episodes, we have completed 32 lifetime wishes, 14 full-time and 5 part-time careers, as well as 10 skills, including all of their skill challenges. We have also completed all 5 available collections in the game, we own every available lot in Sunset Valley, and we have improved every upgradable property in town to level 3. We have witnessed every possible death in the game, and we also brought back a ghost from the dead and had a ghost baby. So in the end, I think it's safe to say that we have reached full completion. And with that, Pauline, Powell and the family founder Pete say goodbye. And I of course do so as well. It was an amazing journey, and I'm happy for each and every one of you who stuck with me till the end. And there is really not much more that I could say at this point. The only thing I want to get off my chest is to say thank you. Thank you for your support in this series, for your ideas along the way, your feedback, and of course, as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.